how to reduce the friction in your business. Because the reality is, whilst there's friction in your business, that's actually going to stunt any growth that is there available for you. So today is all about reducing that friction in your business so that you can actually get to a place of flow. Now, if you're watching this live, make sure to comment below. Let me know who you are and where you're from. And if you're watching this on replay, just post replay below. And again, let me know any aha moments or anything that you love. Also, if you're loving what you hear and you want more, just make a point of jumping on over to my Facebook group, the Elevate Networking Lounge, because I pop into there every single day, a whole heap of training and free resources, and it'd be great to see you over there. So if you want to have more of this sort of stuff, jump on over there. Right, let me close that and let's get back to it. Hello, if you are watching this live, I'd love you to say hello. Sometimes your name doesn't come up in my restream, so just say hello and let me know who you are, and let's get going. So what I want to talk about today is why we actually need to remove and reduce the friction in our businesses, how that is one of the key things that will unlock that next opportunity for growth. You know, we need a little bit of friction, there's no doubt about it. In fact, Will Craig, who's the author of Living the Hero's Journey, actually said, and I've printed out the quote here, he said a certain amount of friction is necessary in our lives to provide enough heat to mold our minds and cast our metal to shape the legend we become. Now, I sort of get that, but I equally go, and there's no doubt at all that we all need a little bit of friction, because it's that friction that kickstarted your business idea. It's that friction that makes you want to experiment and do things differently. It's that friction that gets you to that place of agitation where we're almost, things are shaking up around us. And it's the friction that puts us into that place of experimenting, of looking outside the box, of exploring new ideas, of trying to find new solutions to achieve what it is that we want to achieve. But I do reckon that we hit this point where there's this tipping point of too much friction actually stops us getting any momentum. And that's what I want to talk about today. Here's what I mean. If we think about the journey of our businesses, there's no doubt in my mind that there are moments of growth and idea. And it's at that very point where friction works in our favors. It could be that people weren't offering a product that you needed. It could be that you've seen an opportunity that isn't being serviced. It could be that people are starting to approach you because of your smarts, your skills, your thought leadership, and you're going, I reckon I could actually turn this into a business. So that friction creates opportunity. And it's here where, we evolve. It's here where we experiment. It's here where we start launching and going to market. It's here where we start getting a little bit of momentum. We start we start getting the sales, and things are going smoothly. I know when I think about the first few years of my business, this is exactly where we were. It's like you're on fire and things start showing some sign of proof. Now, what happens, I think, every single time is there's this tipping point, right? So if we think about it as a bell curve, I reckon there's this tipping point. And this is the tipping point where, if we're not careful, the friction in our business stops us from moving forward and potentially takes us downhill. It's at this point where it's almost like the work becomes too hard. It's where things just seem to be clunky versus in flow. It's where the reality of what you're creating seems to be somehow mismatched between the vision. So there's this massive gap between reality and what it is that you're wanting to create. And it's where we end up disliking our business and what it is that we're doing. It's like that real dislike and that lack of joy kicks in. I think it's at this point where one of 6 things is going on for you in the business. It could be that the people, the team are at capacity. It could be that your pipeline is really sort of dried up and non-existent, or it's really hard to get and you're constantly hustling. It could be that you're actually selling absolutely everything and there's no standardization, and just even coming up with proposals and products, you're creating and creating, you've got this smorgasbord of offering. It could be that your internal processes aren't allowing you, they're limiting your growth. It could be that, quite frankly, there's no profit in your business to scale. And it could be that from a positioning point of view, you're the world's best kept secret and nobody actually knows who you are. So at this point of friction, people are not giving us the capacity to grow. We're overworked, we're stretched, we feel like we're doing everything and we're not getting anything done well. It could be that we're hustling really hard for clients, that pipeline's not there. Our product has become really, really hard to sell because we've got iteration after iteration after iteration. Our processes are clunky, if you've got process at all, and suddenly that stops our growth. This is one of the challenges that we've got in some areas of our business right now. We haven't actually got the processes in place that will allow us to step up to the next level in some areas of our business. It could be that your profit, there's just no profit in the business, and so you're unable to scale, or it could be that you're the world's best kept secret. So we move through this phase of awesome phase, this phase of friction being really good. So this is like positive. Let me just change that pen color. We move from like positive friction, where it works in our favors. It's allowing us to evolve, to experiment, to actually get results. And that's where it's really awesome. But there always comes a point in every single business where the friction starts kicking in with regards to people, pipeline, product, processes, profit positioning, and let's be honest, sometimes with ourselves. We don't believe we're good enough. We struggle with self-belief, with a lack of self-belief. We step into comparisonitis or imposter syndrome. And all of this negativity, all of this friction, I call it the itchy jacket. Things that just aren't in flow. Things just aren't moving. It's like you're one step forward and 3 steps back, one step forward and 3 steps back, and you're not getting any traction whatsoever. What we ultimately want to do is to, when we are in that place, obviously identify it so that we can actually move forward again. And instead of the friction holding us back and taking us down this negative spiral of inefficiency, of overwhelm, of lack of belief, of frustration, of no joy in our business, what we actually want to do is turn it around so that we are back on track, moving forward, and once again experimenting, growing, evolving our business. And I think that in this space, there's some critical things that we need to consider. So it's at this space that ultimately what we've got to do is we've got to reconnect with what it is that we want, why we're building what we're building. We've got to reconnect with that bigger piece around the desire, the joy for why we're doing what we're doing. What is the reason that you're doing this stuff? We've actually got to make sure that our drive, our actions, are aligned to that desire, to that want, to that why. And we've got to finally tap into our discernment, our judgment, and make sure that our intuition is aligned both to our desire and our drive, so that we've reconnected with our desire. We're absolutely doing the right options at the right time. And intuitively, once again, instead of feeling like the friction is stopping us from moving forward, we are back to a place of momentum. That's what we've got to do. So here's a couple of things. If you are feeling like your business right now, or you right now, are in this place of friction and no momentum and no growth, and it's actually overwhelming you and making you unhappy and adding frustration to your world instead of bringing you joy, there's a couple of things I want you to think about. Number one, it's about identifying and taking ownership about what's actually happening. One of my mentors actually shared with me a process for doing this, which I'm going to share with you now. Whoopsie. Let's go back. Don't know what happened there. Here we go. Let's go back to the actual slide. So the first thing that you got to do is identify and own it. Got to identify what's getting in your way and start taking some ownership of it. As I said, one of my mentors shared this very simple approach with me today, which I'm sharing with you. A 4-box approach. Let's imagine that this column is all about friction. I want you to think about what is getting in your way internally. What are the internal frictions? What are the things going on for you that at the moment are stopping your momentum and growth? And think about what the external frictions are. External could be team, it could be lack of processes, it could be that clients aren't responding to inquiries quick enough, it could be your Facebook ads aren't working, it could be that life is just mental and you can't keep on top of the personal stuff. Whatever it is, I want you to think about and note down what are the internal frictions and the external frictions that are currently getting in the way of your progress. This is about identifying them and then taking ownership of them. And the other side of this then is about getting really clear on what do you need to do to turn those frictions around to a place of flow. So if, for example, one of the external frictions is I am too busy, I'm doing too much, potentially what you need to do is start expanding your team. If one of the internal frictions is a lack of confidence, potentially you might need to think about who you're surrounding yourself with. Have you got the right people around you? Maybe you need to engage a mentor or a coach. But it's really identifying what's getting in the way and understanding, taking ownership of what action you need to take to move from friction to flow. If you need some clues here, I would be thinking about where the friction might exist with people or team. I would think about marketing and positioning. I would think about your processes and your platforms. I would think about your product. I would think about what else is in here? I would think about your profit, your numbers. And I would think about, pipeline. That's the one I'm missing. I would think about your pipeline. And then I would go personal. What about yourself? Those are the clues. Try and answer that based on those. So step number 1 is identify and own it. Step number 1, identify and own it. Step number 2, then, it's all well and good identifying and owning it, but step number 2 is do something with it. So this is about commit and plan. If you know that something's getting in the way of your growth and momentum, if friction is stopping you from building the business of your dreams, from attracting the clients that you want, from having the time to do the work that you want, for living the lifestyle that you want, for unlocking the profit that you want, from having the marketing that you want, then identify what's getting in the way, own it, and commit to a plan to change it. What is it that you need to do over this next period of time? What action do you need to take? And this is about, instead of the desire, the activity, so the drive, and the judgment, the discernment, instead of that being misaligned, as I've shown there, it's actually about moving that, the committing and the planning is about making sure you once again have it aligned. Only when we can do that are we able to step into our power and have the visibility in our business, and our business have the visibility that it needs to create the impact that you want. Only when we align these 3 things again are you able to make sure that you are building the business that you want, a business that brings you joy, where you're doing the work that you want with the people that you want to work with in the way that you want to work. And only when we realign this stuff in this way are you able to absolutely, with very little effort, unlock even more sales and even more profit in your business. What I do know to be true is if you stay in this place of friction, there will be no momentum. You will actually get stuck. At worst, what happens is you give up and we end up in this negative spiral. My wish for you is to identify and to own what's getting in the way so that you can make a plan to take ownership so that once again, you're able to build a business on your terms, unlocking the profit that is absolutely in your business and doing the work that you love. Hope you've enjoyed this quick training session. Once again, if you've loved this and you want to hear more of these snippets to help you build the business of your dreams, jump on over to the Elevate Networking Lounge. There's a whole heap of free resources in there. That Elevate Networking Lounge is in Facebook. It's a group in there. I'd love to see you there. Make sure you say hi, and I can point you in the right direction of some awesome training to take a look at. Thanks so much. Have a good day.